Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Heartland Mama. I'm Marie Briel.
And I'm Heidi Henry, coming to you from two socially distant studios at the edge of the Great Red Divide. The edge of the Great Red Divide is that part in Illinois that is blue that goes red all the way to California. Marie and I do this show to help spread the word of progressivism and the Democratic Party across the nation into flyover country. So, Marie, today we're going to talk about something super important. So, I know you have a question for me regarding our show today, but you can find, well, wait, I want to tell everybody you can find our previous episodes on heartlandmamas.com, all podcast platforms, YouTube, Demcast Network. Okay, so Murray, you had a question for me about the topic today. What is that question?
Well, so as we're coming up with our pre-show, I'm like, everybody talks about voting, right? Have a voting plan, And like, I get it, but why should somebody take the time to make a voting plan? It's kind of second nature. You just know that you're going to vote. But let's talk about why today, Heidi.
Murray, this is, we say this every election, but every election it seems to get more intense, right? This is going to be the most important election of our democracy, without a doubt. We can't get this wrong, and we can't miss the opportunity to get it right. Okay? And it's so serious because we have a current president who's brought us into multiple constitutional crises. We have barely avoided war with Iran. We are in a global pandemic. Our economy is, for working people, is crashing all around us, while wealthy people are gaining more and more wealth on the pain and suffering and sickness and death of Americans. This is the time that we take the time, take a day off, take a few moments, sit down today with your family, and write out your voting plan. Have a plan to vote. Don't leave it to the winds. This is your absolute civic duty. As a citizen of these United States, do this.
So Heidi, I'm gonna tell our audience what happened when I was
very important.
younger. It was back, I think it was like the 14 or maybe 12 primary.
Mm-hmm.
I had little kids. My husband Steve was gone working in another state,
right?
And he always voted absentee, but I always had to vote the day of. And I knew I would need to early vote. I know I'm going to vote.
Right.
Well, it just so happens that then my 3 children and myself all came down with a horrible case of the flu.
Oh, dear.
And I couldn't get anybody to come watch them so that I could go, and I was too sick to even go. So I missed out on voting that year.
Yeah.
And I had every intention of voting. I was going to do it. But when the day came, and I was sick, I wasn't able to. And we find that inclement weather days really make a difference in voter turnout.
Right. A day like today, when it's raining cats and dogs, people don't go out to vote.
Now, if you're on your way and you have early polling and you can pop in on your way to the train station, that's great on election day. However, for a lot of people who are commuters, think about it. You get in your car, you go to work, it's crappy, it's cold, it's rainy,
the line
you've had
is
a long
long
day. It's easier to go home and pop up in a bottle of wine than it is to go out of your way to vote.
Right.
So that is why it is really important to make a vote
plan. In Murray, I want to talk a little bit about the year that I ran for office in 2018. I was feeling very sick for days and days before that and didn't know, unbeknownst to me, I was so ill, I was in bed. And I had a hard time functioning, and I had 2 ovarian cysts that burst, and I didn't even know I had those. And I couldn't figure out why I was feeling so. I almost missed voting for myself in my own election. That's how bad I felt that day, and all the after parties that all the different counties scheduled, I made one and barely crawled into that one because I felt so terrible. So you don't know, even as a candidate, what is going to happen to you, and you don't want to wait.
Let's be honest here for a second. Mm-hmm. Let's be totally honest. With the way that 2020 has gone, between sex, death, mosquitoes, 200,000 Americans dead, with everything that has happened, it would be our luck that on election day, an electromagnetic pulse would wipe out everything that we were able to do digitally. Some catastrophe is going to happen, guys. Let's face it. So plan ahead. Don't wait.
Don't wait.
First step you need to do is go to
Vote.
what website, Ivy?
Vote.
Aside from Heartland Mamas,
Right.
which you should go to Heartland Mamas just because we're really cool. But what you need to do today
Yeah.
or tomorrow or whenever you're hearing this episode is go to
vote.org, vote.org, and find out. It'll tell you your status, where you're registered to vote at, if you're registered to vote, if anything has changed in your voting status. It will also allow you to sign up for text reminders and email reminders to remind you to vote. They will keep after you to get to the voting booth until November 3rd when the polls close. They'll keep saying, get out there and vote, get out there and vote. And some people need the, I have an adult child that has to set multiple alarm clocks around their house to be able to get up to go to work. Same person is the kind of person that will need these constant text reminders. Get out there and vote. Get out there and vote. So go to vote.org, and check today. It's a free site, and check where you're at. Check your status. Any place you are in the United States or any principalities, any place in the world, you can find out your voting status. Right? If you're living abroad, if you're, if you're out working in the armed services, if you're working out of the country, if you're retired and living somewhere, a snowbird or whatever, here's your source. Here's your place. It's going to tell you where you're registered.
The first thing you need to do is make sure you check and make sure you are registered to vote.
Right.
With your proper address, that you know your polling locations. And what's really great is while you are there, you can make your plan to vote. And if you don't want to get 10,000 text messages, then make your plan to vote early. And that includes step 2 of making your plan to vote. See what your voting options are.
Yes.
You can vote by early voting. You can vote by mail. You can vote day of.
Right.
But see what your options are prior, because we've seen it happen in counties across the country where the day of they have to close polls because poll workers are sick.
Right.
We saw it happen in Kentucky with the pandemic, which it actually worked out okay. They were able to get the flow they needed and handle it, but polling places frequently change. So make sure you write down your polling place. If you don't get a voter ID card,
Right.
Registered voter card from your county clerk, make sure you write down your polling place and you check before you go.
Right.
Now, go to your county clerk's website, and that will give you lots of more information on exactly where you can vote, where your polling place is for the day of, and where your county early sites are.
Right.
In my county, we have 7 locations that are early voting sites that are open daily for the month prior to the election. So we have a lot of really good access to early voting. Again, you need to find out where those places are. And then, what's the next thing we gotta do?
Well, I want to talk a little bit about voting by mail, because here in Illinois, we passed a law so everybody can vote by mail. You'll get a little card from your county clerk's office that you can fill in and mail back in, and she'll send you, or he or she will send you back a ballot. Okay? You'll get one as long as you voted in the last election. Do you want a ballot? And you fill it out and you send it in, and they send you a ballot. Now, before we passed that, we had several activist organizations. I've got one of their things here. Vote by Mail 2020, and I signed up for them. So they also sent me a request to vote by mail, and I filled it out.
Now, Heidi, I want to point out right now, you just mentioned something really important. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Sure.
But there has been some confusion with vote by mail.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to clarify that vote by mail is the same thing as absentee voting.
Absolutely. It's the same thing.
It's the same thing. It is completely legal and completely safe. Mm-hmm. We want to make sure everyone knows that. And just because you receive multiple applications for a ballot does not mean you will receive multiple ballots Heidi did some investigating and talked to 2 county clerks. Please, Heidi, tell us about
Well,
it.
because I had sent in one from, I signed up with every activist organization to vote by mail before Illinois had it. So they're all sending me the thing, fill this form out, send it in, and you'll get your ballot. Then I get one from my county clerk. So it's triple. So I called my county clerk. I said, if I send all 3 of these in, am I going to get 3 ballots? No. We double check that. If you send in 3, you still only get 1 ballot. If you send in 10, you still only get 1 ballot. If you somehow vote by mail and then vote in person, only 1 counts because they check and double check. They have systems in place already.
Wait a minute. Heidi, no. When people are voting 6 times.
No, that doesn't happen, Murray. That doesn't happen.
You're fibbing. I know you're fibbing.
Well, it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen because they have stopgaps. They keep it from people voting multiple times.
Wait a minute. You Bill Barr doesn't know that.
Sometimes I think Bill Barr only knows what he wants to know and only says what he wants to be true. But what we know for a fact is that they have checks and double checks and balances to make sure that we keep it on the straight and narrow. Now, people have been voting by mail, our armed services, since the Civil War. I had ancestors that voted by mail that fought on the side of the North in the Civil War, from Ohio, Indiana, and Illinois. They all voted by mail. My pops voted by mail in World War II. My grandfathers, all 3 of them voted by mail during World War I. So I just want you to know that this has been going on since the Civil War, since the 1860. I don't remember exactly what year it started, but it was the 1860s during the Civil War when they first started mail-in ballots, and they have had, for the millions and millions and millions and millions of votes, only like a 0.5% attempt at voter fraud. Murray.
Okay, Heidi, but we have to take this just one step farther.
All right.
So let's say that you understand. Let's say I totally understand that voting by mail is completely safe. That it isn't fraud, that I'm not getting another that I'm not, that I don't buy the arguments that are out there.
Right.
Now, here's a part of a problem, though, is how do I know my ballot is actually going to get to the how do I know the post office is actually going to get my ballot?
So the Postmaster General, whose last name is DeJoy, was brought on by the current president to try to disrupt mail flow. We know that's a fact. We had congressional hearings on this. Both the Senate and the House investigated. And the conclusion is that he did everything in his power to slow down and stop the mail, to cause people to be uncertain about how safe their mail-in ballot is. He was able to plant those seeds even in my head, and I trust our mail system completely, to think maybe there's going to be something hinky going on. So our county clerks came up with a great idea. They have hoppers that are in front of every courthouse with cameras on in secure locations where you can take your mail-in ballot, drop it in the little hopper in a secure location, and you don't even have to bother with the mail, Murray. So we get around to Joy.
So, wait a minute. I can get my ballot at home and comfortably enjoy a glass of Pinot while filling it out and researching my candidates. But, of course, we're all going to vote blue. So filling out my ballot the way I want to, and then I can drive up to my courthouse and just put it in. I don't even have to use a stamp.
You don't even, you won't have to use a stamp anyway. It comes prepaid. But because people have been talking about, does it take 1 stamp or 2 stamps? In Illinois, you just drop it in the mail and it's going to go. You have to check what's appropriate in your state. That's the law that we passed in Illinois. But Illinois is one of those states that goes out of its way, Murray, to make sure everybody gets the opportunity to vote. Everybody, we take all the roadblocks away, all of them. We have people sign up to vote when they sign up for selective service in school. We have people register to vote when they go to the DMV. We do everything we can to help people vote and take the roadblocks away. But we know Wisconsin is not that lucky. Michigan's not that lucky. Iowa's,
Indiana is not that
Indiana's not.
lucky. I mean, if we
Kentucky.
look at it, do you know that there are actually a set of states that you can only vote by
There are
mail
5
if
states.
approved?
Yeah.
Yeah, what? That's like Texas, Indiana, South Carolina, Tennessee, Mississippi, and Louisiana.
Yeah.
The only way that you can is if you get a justified excuse.
Right.
I don't know, like, is you get a doctor's note saying that, and the pandemic is not an excused absence. What am I, high school?
You know,
Like, I need my county clerk to tell me it's okay for me to vote by mail. That's kind of jacked up, guys. Y'all want to talk about freedom, you freedom lovers out there. That is not having freedom.
you let people vote. You let people vote. You take away the roadblocks, Marie, and you let people vote because it's the right thing to do. Obstructing voting, and we have states in this country, Colorado being one of them, Washington State being another, where they only vote by mail. They don't have any voter fraud. And one of those states is democratically controlled and one is Republican controlled. So it can go either way. It's not just Democrats benefit from vote by mail, but somehow
No,
the
not at
Republicans
all.
have this in their head that, oh my God, if we let everybody vote, we will always lose. You don't know that. You
Maybe
don't
if
know
they
that.
weren't like crappy human beings, they wouldn't.
Oh, yeah, that's true. So the thing about taking it to the hopper at the courthouse, check your county clerk's office so you know what county you live in. Like I know I live in LaSalle County in Illinois, so I can Google LaSalle County clerk's office.
Clerk.
And all that voting information is going to pop right up. And I can look on there and see where early voting locations are. And we'll talk about early voting here in a minute. Where the drop boxes are, how to get a ballot by mail if you haven't received an application for one yet, or if you received an application. I had somebody call me and say, I think I threw it out. Call your county clerk. Ask them how you start the process again. Just ask them. It's the job we pay them as taxpayers for. And most of them are going to bend over backwards, except for you in Kendall County, Illinois, are going to bend over backwards to help people be able to vote. The county clerk is one of the most important positions in county government. They protect and keep our elections safe. And I am so lucky to have Lori Baumgartz as my county clerk. I think she's just amazing. And I know that she's looking after our election. She wants it to be flawless. And she works her butt off to make sure that it is. So
there's another option for voting, and that's your early voting.
Yeah, so let's talk about early voting.
Early voting can be some places open as early as 7 a.m., some places close as late as 8. Again, that is where you find that information is at your county clerk's office.
Right.
So you want to make sure that you go Google your county name, go to the clerk's office. It will tell you all of the early voting locations. It will give you directions to the locations, tell you the hours.
Yeah.
So make sure that you have that information. But now having a bit of a plan is also important.
Yes.
Like I'm thinking maybe I'll do a socially distant picnic on an early voting day.
That would be really nice. That would be really nice.
That would be fun. Hit one of the early votings.
The day that they formally called Columbus Day, which might be Columbus Day still in your state, not yours, Murray. I think we changed it to Indigenous Peoples Day, didn't we, in Illinois? Or are we thinking about it? Anyway, there's no school that day. The clerk's office is open for voting. I would make it a big celebration day. If you're going to go do early voting, that would be a great day because you have an extra day off work. Or the kids have the day off school. Take them in, let them see the process.
Take the kids. Take the kids. I have been taking my kids since I was pregnant with my first one. Literally, I was about to pop, and it was a municipal election, and my precinct committeeman was there, and he was like, "Go to the hospital. We don't know how to deliver babies. So go and vote." Every one of my kids has been many, many times.
Right,
and we usually do a family picture.
And the guy that after you put it in the little hopper in the machine so it can read it, they will give your child an I voted sticker as well. My kids
They
love that.
will.
I got a sticker. So it's one of those things where you introduce them to the people that that are there. If you know them, if you don't know them, just wave and say hi like you do, because they're really friendly, and get a sticker for your kid on the way out. They'll love it. But early voting locations can be at the courthouse in a smaller county. They can be satellite in larger counties, satellite places everywhere else. They often provide weekend hours and evening hours to accommodate people, working people. I want to go back and say one thing about early voting. We have some judges and stuff that are up. Fair Tax Illinois is up in Illinois on the ballot. When you're voting at home, if you're not sure about something, you can Google it. When you're early voting, you can get a sample ballot from the clerk's office before you go in, so you can look and look up. I often go in with a little cheat sheet. If I'm not sure what I want to do, I have a little cheat sheet with me, and my my husband will go, "Can I have the cheat sheet?" You make your own. So sometimes I just make a copy of it for him or put it on his phone so he can look, so he doesn't forget because there's sometimes the ballot is long, and this is going to be one of those longer ballots because we have county offices, we have the president is up for, then you have ballot initiatives, so state races,
it's gonna be a
judges.
ballot.
So be prepared, and prepare to spend time there doing this. I mean, anything worth doing is worth doing well, right, Marie?
Yes.
So do it well. So make your plan. And
so instead of taking your time, just get the ballot and fill it out at home with a glass of Pinot or maybe a whiskey.
Moscato.
Or, just relaxing in whatever way you choose.
Herbal tea.
And fill that baby out.
Yeah.
And you can even drop it in a box. I think I'm going to try that this year.
Yeah.
I have never voted by mail. Even came home from college to vote. So I've never voted by, and I think I'm going to try the experiment this year.
And Murray, I want to talk to the parents of college students and college students out there that are watching right now, because my son, when he was down at Southern in 2016, even though he was living at college part of the year, he was still living here at our farm in Marseilles the other part of the year. He did not change his voting registration because he had no intention of living in Carbondale after he graduated, so he didn't want to vote in the local elections that were going to impact Carbondale. He wanted to vote in the elections that impacted Marseilles, Illinois, mostly LaSalle County and our area.
And that's a problem a lot of kids are in it.
But somehow, without his knowledge, when he went down it was the former Columbus Day, to vote with his dad early, he had been dropped from the voter rolls in LaSalle County. And because it was a holiday, they weren't able to help him reestablish. So he had to go back down to Carbondale and vote. So he only voted for
So again, another reason to check your voter registration status.
Yes. Had he known before that day, we could have fixed it. But we couldn't fix it because we didn't know. And it was a hot mess.
You all check.
Yeah, and that was one of those things when we talk about the Russian interference. He was one of those hacks that was them playing around, is what it was determined. So you ladies and gentlemen, actually know somebody whose child was impacted by Russian interference in 2016, up close and personal. Yep, that close to home, Marie. And we watched stuff, but we didn't have vote.org back then. We weren't as sophisticated as we are. We have all grown so much in the last 4 years, haven't we?
Oh my, haven't we?
I would like one night of quiet sleep without wondering if the world blew up overnight. Now, the last thing we want to talk about is voting day of. Now, when you vote day of, in Illinois, where we live, we're not going to run into really long lines in most precincts because we plan ahead. I have even voted to be a poll worker that day, even though I plan to vote early. I'm going to be a poll worker. I've got a face shield and a mask, a respirator that I use for dust and stuff that I'm going to wear that day. And the reason I'm doing that is because we're short on poll workers. And I'm young for 59 according to my something age, my not chronological, but my biological age. I'm young for my age, and I've aged well. Health wise,
That's kind of awesome. I like that.
oh,
I've aged well.
yeah.
I have not.
Well, health wise, I'm in really good health, and so I would rather my friends that have been poll workers forever, that are in their 70s and 80s, take the day off. Let me take the germs. Honey, I'll come in my front door, drop my clothes in the washing machine, hop in the shower before I go around my husband who's got that rare kind of blood cancer, so I do try to protect him all the time. But I'm going to go out there and do that. And I'm going to go there because it's important for you to come and vote that day. All right? And I'm going to be there for you. And I want you to know that there's other people like me this will be our first time serving. And we're happy to be there. We're happy to be there. And we know we're taking a chance of contracting COVID-19, but it's more important for us to get this election right than it is for me to avoid working that day. Okay, so I'm not sure where they'll assign me. I'll go wherever they put me, either in my own precinct or somewhere else. I'll go wherever they need me. And so if you go to vote that day, I want you to go prepared. I want you to bring an extra good pen, a nice blue pen, stick it in your pocket. I want you to bring hand sanitizer.
Hand sanitizer.
Mask. Bring two. Bring a spare mask in case yours gets damp, if it's raining outside, if you just feel like you need a fresh mask or whatever. Bring some breath mints. Bring a snack. Stick a protein bar in your pocket. Carry a bottle of water in case your line is long. Now, worst case scenario, you don't need any of it. But worst case scenario, you need all of it. And maybe you give your bottle of water to somebody else who needs it. But be prepared and block out time in your day to do this. You're supposed to get time off work to vote you should tell your boss that you're going to take time off to vote. But be prepared to spend hours. We saw the lines in Wisconsin. We saw the lines in Kentucky. We know there'll be lines in Indiana because Indiana and Iowa are determined to stay red, even though they're really flipping blue. They're really going that way.
They are.
And as is Michigan and Wisconsin. But there'll be the Republican parties up, around us, all around us. Every state surrounding us has gone out of their way to make it more difficult for people to vote in this election. They're going to throw a monkey wrench in. So if you're an in-person voter, you need to be prepared. Plan the time.
Or if you're new to mail-in voting, maybe we could do it together. I won't look at yours, you don't look at mine, but maybe we could Zoom together and figure it out. If you want to do that, let me know. I'm going to give it a try this year. All right, folks. Well, we hope that we have given you a great basis for why it's important to make a plan.
Marie,
can
I add one more thing in?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, honey. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I wanted
You're good.
I want to tell you that voting is one of the most important things that you ever do in your life. It is something to be celebrated. It's something to be honored. And you should plan a special celebration at home with your family. Include your children in this. Celebrate with them. Order pizza. Make a special dinner. My family, I used to take my kids out after we voted together. We always would go out.
And we would do.
Yeah, and celebrate the day. And this year, because of the pandemic, you really can't. But make something everybody loves. Order pizza and make election night very special. We're already discussing what wine we're going to have in the fridge. So,
it gives me the vapors. We'll talk about election night.
I know, and but we're trying to make you armored for this election, and we have to armor ourselves to get this right.
And we have to make a plan, guys, because it is proven psychologically that if you have something to do on a schedule or a planned activity, you are 80% more likely.
Put it in your phone. Put it in your phone.
Put it in your Google Calendar. Put it on your house calendar. Whatever you got to do.
Post-it notes.
Just make sure you make a plan, know your options, go to vote.org, and get out there and vote. So thank you so much for joining us. We love having you here. We are back. Be ready for more coming out from our candidate series.
Yes.
Again, catch us and all of our past episodes on Heartland Mamas. MAMAS.com.
Yep.
YouTube, wherever you get your favorite podcast. Like, subscribe, and share.
part of the Demcast Network. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in today. Take care now. Bye-bye.